What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Fiction. So today we're going to talk about the movie Us, the horror movie Us. It was written and directed by Jordan Peele. It is a horror thriller genre. It came out in 2019 and it's about 2 hours and a minute long, and it's also rated R. It's about this family who goes on vacation at this beach home where the mother, Adelaide Wilson, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, played by Lupitanyongo, grew up as a child. Once she's haunted by her traumatic past, she fears the worst to come. And her fears become a reality when a family is completely identical to her shows up at the house. Thus, they all have to fight for survival. So first, we got to talk about the acting and the character. So, Lupita's character, she was great. She was so good. Her son was missing, and then she started panicking, and she had so much anxiety. It was giving me anxiety. I was like, low-key, like, oh my God, did something happen to this child? Like, Lupita really fell into this role. She really nailed this role. Like, she needs an Oscar for this because it was just superb. She was creepy as hell. She was dedicated to this. When she played the mother, her voice was just like raspy and dry. I was like, somebody need to get this lady some water, like, for real. Oh, just kidding. She could barely talk, which, remember, as a child, she was choked. Also, I want to say, I forgot, I'm going to be spoiling this whole thing, so if you haven't seen this movie, I don't know where you've been at, but I'm spoiling it. There was a part when the dad was like, "Who are you?" to the shadow mom. And the shadow mom was like, "We're Americans." And I'm just like, of course they're Americans. What else would they be? You're gonna hold that thought to that because I'm gonna talk about that. I also will say that the other shadow family, I forget their names, the other family, not the Wilsons, but their friends, their shadows were like way more dark. They just came in their house and started killing. They came in there, they killed the two twin girls, and then they killed the dad, and then they killed the mom. Whereas the Wilson shadows, their shadow people, their shadow selves, at least they gave them time. Like, they didn't immediately go kill them. They like try to have a conversation, try to figure out, try to help tell them like why they're here and everything. The other family, their shadow family didn't give no fucks. They came up there ready to kill on sight. Another character I want to talk about, Elizabeth Moss character, Kitty Dahlia. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. But you could tell that her character was like, it was so blatantly obvious that she was jealous of Lupita's character, whose character I really can't seem to pronounce right. But she was very jealous of Lupita's character. Yeah, I mentioned to her about getting plastic surgery, and she was like, "Oh, you don't need anything done. Not that you need anything done." And then she called her the B word. Because Lupita's character looks very youthful, and her, her skin is tight and all those things. You could tell there was a sense of jealousy. And then her character had an obsession with beauty standards, and her character had an obsession with beauty, looking youthful, looking young, which nonetheless trickled down to her shadow self. Remember the shadow self of the neighbor woman, Kitty? She was portrayed the same exact way as her non-shadow self. She had cut her face because she didn't like the way it looked. When she was putting on the lipstick, how she was like putting it on, she was just so full of excitement and joy, and she was so happy of how she looked when she put the makeup on. And her acting was spot on too. This is the same lady that played in The Invisible Man. Elizabeth Moss killed this as well, especially when she started laughing creepishly. Like, the women in this, their acting was just so on point, even the daughter. It showed a lot in that scene and other scenes how these characters were, even though they were playing themselves and they're technically the same person, but their shadow selves were them. Their shadow selves were them, just they had lived different experiences and different lives. All in all, they wanted the same exact thing. The shadow mom just wanted a family. She just didn't want to live underground and live that life. She wanted the same thing that the non-shadow Lupita's character wanted, which was a family, happiness, and to be able to live and be together with her family. Also, the sister, Zora Wilson, played by Shahidi Wright Joseph. She did a great job too. Like, her opposing shadow self was like so creepy. It was very terrifying, especially when she was on the car and she was chasing her. Like, it was just really intense, really creepy. And even her non-shadow self, which is very like in character, she was very scared. You could see the tears running down her eyes. Like I said, all the women in this, they killed it. The mom, the daughter, the neighbor, they were just on point with the acting. This whole movie and the cast, they need an Oscar. Like, seriously. Next, we gotta talk about the visuals, the cinematography. Very beautiful visuals. Very beautiful cinematography. Super lovely. I love the sky colors when it was thunderstorming. Love the white bunny rabbits in the cage. They all were lined up orderly, and you would see maybe like randomly a black bunny rabbit, like a gray bunny rabbit, but for the most part, they were just like all white bunny rabbits, just like lined up like they were ready to be slaughtered or something, ready to be experimented on one by one. I love the visuals of the escalator and how it led to the white asylum, and white represents sterileness, and white represents hospitals and crazy mental institutions in this case. I also thought, like, I wonder how they did those scenes when they had the characters fighting each other. Also, you know they had to nail this because they played themselves and they played opposite people. Scenes where the dad was fighting himself on that boat, or the daughter was fighting herself in the car and near the car and running around herself. Like, I'm really intrigued about how they did that. It would be nice to see some like behind the scenes on how they did that. And that slow-mo scene was everything. When the son backed away and then he backed his shadow self away into the fire. Before it happened, it had that like trail of gasoline, and it happened slowly in slow motion and led up to that moment. It was really cool. It was awesome. Lastly, the visuals of the whole stairway to heaven with the escalator going up or going down into the asylum. The reason I say Stairway to Heaven because I think about that song Stairway to Heaven by that group. What's their name? Stairway to Heaven, because it's basically like this is their world, this is their heaven. And the stairways was the escalator. Cool to see the shadow people doing the exact same thing that the non-shadow people were doing. It's in a different environment. And I love that part where Lupita's character, before she goes in to that place, it says at the top, it says, find yourself. And that scene when they had the dance of death, those visuals were just great. Like, she was in her tutu dancing like a ballerina. I thought that was pretty good with the music. It was spooky, but at the same time, it told like a sad story, honestly, of her character when she was dancing in that tutu. It actually showed a humane side of the dark side of herself. So let's get into the juicy part, the symbolism. What about the symbolism? So in the intro, we have this guy holding a sign that says Jeremiah 11:11. And in the Bible, 11:11, Jeremiah basically translates in English to basically revealing evil being brought upon the people which they cannot escape. And though they shall cry upon me, I will not forsake them. It's basically a sign of death. It's a sign, it's a warning of death to come, and a death that you cannot escape because it's inevitable. Also, in the intro scene, notice how the little girl had this red candy apple. And notice how not only was the apple red, but the doppelgangers, the shadow people, their shadow selves, their reflections wore red. And in this case, red, I assumed, is blood, red represents death and danger. Also, we see 11:11 a bunch of times in this. We see 11:11 when the guy's getting the ambulance, death. We see 11:11 on the clock, which is a warning sign. And the little boy was like, look, 11:11, which is a warning that death is about to come. Right before those people came, their shadow selves came to their house. There were so many symbolisms and so many warning signs of death to come for them. I also want to say that 11:11 in numerology it represents a highly developed intuition. It basically represents angels watching over you or trying to tell you something, and it's telling you when you see 11:11 in numerology that you have the power to change your own thoughts, you have the power to better your life, and focus on positive thinking to make the best of your life in that period of time. It can go either way. It could be talking about symbolism with 11:11 in the sense of the Bible and symbolism in the sense of numerology. I think it probably was more reference to the Bible in this case, but like I said, it probably can go either way for this movie. Now, I want to talk about the symbolism in the title, US. The title symbolism is us. It's shown in the intro. I love how us and the music kind of went hand in hand, and soon as the word us came up on the screen, you saw the rabbit. Showed like the rabbits close up, and then the screen pandered away widescreen to show us all of the rabbits. And rabbits are basically said to be animals that are easily controlled. So there definitely is a correlation between us, the people, us, a group of people, and the rabbits, a group of rabbits who are easily controlled, just like people. As far as symbolism goes with this title, I took it literally. I took us meaning literally us. This is us. And the word us came on, you can see the rabbit. I took us literally as in us. Like us, the people watching, us, the people in the movie. This is us. Also, you put a dot after the letter U and you put a dot after the letter S. What does that say? United States. Us. That's what I came up with. Another symbolic thing was the ambulance trucks. First, you had Lupita's character who kept seeing the ambulance. She saw the ambulance that had the number 2 on it, by the way. The ambulance truck that put the guy in when he was dead or hurt or something. And then her son, when her son was in that room with his shadow self, they put the toy ambulance in between the doors so that it didn't close all the way. My assumption was that it was going to be a state of emergency, which, of course, it was all in the news. Ambulance represents emergency. An emergency, that's if something bad's about to happen. All of this stuff started getting on the news. It was getting covered by the news because it was something bad that's happened, because the news usually only likes to show a lot of bad things. And the number 2 in numerology basically means teamwork, relationships, and coming together. Now you think about that, in the beginning of this movie, they showed this like commercial or something with like people holding hands, and then it was on that shirt. And then at the end, they had everybody that was tethered together, holding hands, togetherness, and all that. Another symbolic moment, when the sun picked up the amethyst rock. Oh, an amethyst rock crystal, which is a violet purple quartz that is basically said to help the mind flow freely in both mental and metaphysical dimensions. Metaphysical dimensions, both mental and metaphysical dimensions. So we're talking about 2 different dimensions. When we think about that, think about the upper and the lower ground. At the up top, we had the regular everyday people, Lupita, her family, and then below they had everybody's shadow self. Everybody who was living underground, lower ground, and then they both were living 2 different lives. That's where I got that connection with the amethyst and all of that. In this case, the amethyst makes it all more clear. It brings everything to the light. That's why I'm assuming that the kid picked that up and that reference is made between those 2 things. However, in the Old Testament, the amethyst is a representation of those who pray for their enemies to basically kill them. Part of the lowly that die with Christ. In this case, that family, that other family, their neighbor. I want to talk about the most important symbolic thing of this all, and what really, after watching this for the second time, because the first time I went to see this when it came out in theaters, after watching it the second time home, after watching it and then sitting and thinking about it, I've come to this conclusion about the scissors, because I kept thinking, why the scissors? Why not just have them hold knives? Why scissors? You know, in the thumbnail cover that they used for this movie, specifically, she has on red, she has on those Michael Jackson gloves, reference to the shirt, and she's holding scissors. When I googled the word scissors, it said an instrument consisting of 2 blades laid one on top of the other and fastened in the middle so as to allow them to be opened and closed by a thumb. A thumb. That means somebody holding these scissors. And I'm not just talking about someone physically holding the scissors in the movie. I'm talking about metaphorically holding the scissors. And fingers inserted through rings on the end of their handles. Also, an action in which 2 things cross each other or open and close like the blades of a pair of scissors. Now, what do you guys think that means? Of course it's a metaphor. Of course, this is a metaphor. These scissors are a metaphor. What are they a metaphor of? They're a metaphor of the 2 worlds. Think about it. We have the scissors that are being held by someone else. We don't know who the someone else is. We don't know. We don't know who the person holding the scissors, but we do know that the scissors represent 2 things crossing over top of each other. And what's crossing over top of each other? The dark and the light people. The people and their shadow selves. Their world and then the underground world. And that's why they have the scissors. There's no way that Jordan Peele did not think of this when he made this. Like, it's genius. Come on now. Come on. So I think there are 2 things. There are 2 worlds, 2 sides of the person. There's light and there's dark. Those 2 worlds, just like the scissors, are crossing. Like I said, there's no way. I know Jordan Peele had to come up with this, because why did he specifically use scissors instead of a knife, instead of a gun? Because he wanted to make a correlation between the scissors and the 2 worlds and the characters, and a deeper meaning as to what else this is about. Who's holding the scissors? We know that the shadow people, they're the ones that are killing their regular non-shadow selves. But who's holding the scissors? Where did they come from? How did they get here? Where did this underground world come from? Who's holding the scissors? Who's behind the scenes? It's just, this young, like, genius. it's just genius. That's all I can say. It's this movie is genius with the hidden stuff. Awesome design. I noticed that there were references to Michael Jackson's Thriller. There was like references to old school horror movies, horror videos. We had the little girl with the Michael Jackson shirt on, Thriller. When the child Adelaide Wilson, she pitched to get number 11, that shirt. And when her father, Wayland, played by Yahya Makin, he asks which one does she want. And also the son of Adelaide, Lupita as an older woman, the mom, her son named Pluto Wilson, played by Evan Alex. He wore the Jaws t-shirt. I'm assuming that maybe he's a fan of those two things. There were a lot of people who made really cool, interesting like correlations between Michael Jackson, Thriller, the end of that video, and this movie. I thought it was really, really cool that they did that. I didn't come up with that myself, but I thought it was clever that people came up with that, and that's possibly, yeah, that possibly goes with this movie. And of course the gloves, I noticed that the gloves and the Michael Jackson gloves and here are related, and how in the end Michael Jackson revealed, ha 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 ha, it was really me in the Thriller video, just like this. So that was cool. And also the music was electrifyingly creepy and very, very eerie. They did really well with the music. It sounded like something familiar, like the intro to a song that I know, but then it just like stayed in that momentum of like creepiness. It also had its jump scares and its audience moments with that music and with the characters. When the little boy was like, "There's a family in our driveway," I was like, I would have been out. I would have, as soon as I saw them people, because they were just standing there, they weren't moving. They were just in the shadows, just standing there, like not moving. Like I would have had a shotgun or something, because something, I would have been strapped, something, because y'all not about to come in here and just kill us. And you know they was crazy because they didn't move. They just was, when the dad went out there and he like tried to scare them, they just was standing there. And that's when you know people are crazy. When they're just standing there, you don't see no movement, you can't see their face, they're in the shadows, it's nighttime. Oh no. Oh hell no! I love how the camera pandered and showed each family member when something was happening. The dad was on the floor getting beaten, dragged. The mom was just like clutching the kids tight. And the dad, Gabe Wilson, played by Winston Duke, was terrified. He tried to act tough to scare the Dark family away, but you know that he was like terrified and scared. That moment when everybody sees each other up close and personal, and the son is like, they look like us. So my random thoughts are, in the beginning, how the dad just paid no attention to his daughter. Like, he didn't even turn around to see if she was back there. He didn't say, "Hey, get up here and stand next to me, don't go nowhere," or "Here, let me hold your hand," or something. Like, he really was not watching her at all. Like, what did they expect? What did he expect? She just, especially in a place like that, like, come on now. Also, another random thought was, you notice how police coming straight from the underground, a young back because I'm brown. Like, that was playing after police was playing, but like the police never showed up. Like, they never showed up. And then they called the police too. They never showed up. Like, you didn't see not one cop on here, which I thought was ironic because they had after police playing and the police didn't come. Nobody heard anything. No neighbors called anybody. Oh man. Also, another random thought is, why is it that the little boy was the only person? The only person. He was the only person that basically thought and realized, this is myself. This is a reflection of me, therefore I can control it. And when he killed his reflection into the fire, remember when he walked back, his reflection went into the fire and died. Why is it that his character is the only one that came to this epiphany? Like, why is his character the only one that came to this realization and no other character thought this? And lastly, the dad did not put in any effort. I mean, I know his leg was like bummed a little bit, but like, he was barely doing anything, honestly. And it was funny though. His character was pretty funny, but in comparison to the mom, like, she was on mommy mode like 24/7 the whole time, and he just was like kind of there. So in the end, it was revealed the truth, which I feel like it shouldn't have been, although it still was confusing. I feel like they shouldn't have revealed that in the end. They shouldn't have revealed who she really was. They should have just left it really, really super ambiguous at the end. I mean, even though when you watch it, you still was trying to make that like correlation, like, wait, is that her? Is that not her? Wait, so this happened, that happened, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're trying to put the pieces together. But it basically did reveal, like, that wasn't really her. And I kind of wish it didn't. I wish it was just more ambiguous at that end part. So it's still questionable, and I do still wonder. And the son, he looks like the mom all suspiciously, and he puts his mask on because it's basically like, yeah, I probably know it's not you, but we're all wearing a mask, and it's not you, but it's your shadow self. So it's basically kind of you, but just a dark version of yourself. Basically, like, we're all reflections. So overall, I really like this movie, and I definitely will recommend it to everyone. Watch it again, watch it the second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, figure out what's going on in this movie. Maybe I'll watch it for the third time and I'll learn some new stuff about this movie and maybe figure out more stuff. But I definitely recommend this. Jordan Peele did an amazing job. I would love to see an all-black cast and mostly black people in the movie. You don't see black people mostly a lot of times in horror, and especially darker skinned people, so it was very cool to see this. Like I said, the acting was good. If you guys like this video, be sure to subscribe to this channel, and be sure to give this a thumbs up if you like this video. Comment below and let me know, what are your thoughts about this film? Did you come up with any ideas when you watched this? Like, what are your speculations about this whole thing? And be sure to hit that notification bell to get notified when I post videos. I post every other day. Sometimes it's late just because it just depends on the day. I usually almost always post, even if it's super late, like the time it is right now, it's probably super late. But yeah, I will see you all next time, and be sure to get you a copy of my book, Rain. It is a psychological thriller about a group of young adults in a psych ward who get this counselor who's trying to help them, and he learns that they don't really have mental illnesses, that they have some sort of special abilities. And he also came there because he's been trying to find his brother. That's his secret motive. He's been trying to find his brother, but he's also trying to help these kids, and he learns that this place is haunted, and he learns that there's more to this place. It's not just a bunch of kids who's crazy in here. There's secrets that have not been told, and he's trying to uncover them and help these kids while also helping himself. If you want to get a copy of this book, you can hit the link in the description box below. It'll take you to my website. This actually is my website, or you can type it in on Google. Also, you can add yourself to my email list, or send me an email at this email to add yourself to my email list, because I'm gonna start like this whole thing where I give tips and talk to people about writing and books, and kind of try to start some sort of workshop or something. Maybe I'll make a Patreon. Don't know yet, but definitely send me your email if you're interested, and peace out.